Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of Primal Season 2 on Adult Swim. And overall, I enjoyed this season because it just was more Primal goodness, kind of Conan, caveman, with the dinosaur kind of action and everything going on, with a pretty decent story. But the thing is, the last episode is what kind of downgraded it for me. And that's mainly because of pacing and how certain things were rushed to get to an execution to get to an ending. Especially with how certain things were lengthened for certain kind of story arcs, and then one that we had like an episode that didn't really even tie into what was going on in the caveman times, but was instead set in the 1890s. And let's actually hit that first. That's like in the middle one, and we just get this one of Charles Darwin talking about like the primal theory and whatnot, and how we're kind of close to like, just going kind of nutty as this escaped convict kind of like comes in and like fucks up this whole kind of like high class house kind of shit, and this one like lord dude being able to kind of like take him out. It was an interesting one, and I did like what happened in the episode and kind of like the meditation on it. However, when you get to the end, you can see that that could have been better spent just making sure that it got to a better kind of way for the ending to not seem rushed. So, the main kind of bulk deals with Spear and Fang pretty much trying to find Mira. We see them going through and trying to sail the sea and detailing with all the kind of shit that would have to ensue during that in like prehistoric times before they pretty much get separated and washed on shore. Spear pretty much gets found by like this Celtic kind of village place as he's pretty much getting accepted in that. Fang actually found another kind of similar dinosaur that they kind of like just had a kind of they ate some kind of like fruit together and they banged, and that becomes important later on because she eventually lays eggs and has offspring from that mating, which is kind of cool. However, her and the dude dinosaur pretty much come upon the Celtic place. They start like kind of eating people, mainly the red dude. But Spear kind of tries to like take that one out to stop him, but then Fang's like, "Hey, stop!" But it gets to a scenario where the red dude's trying to take out Spear, and Fang kicks him, and accidentally kills it. And she's sad about that, and I get it, and it's effectively communicated on that. The thing is, he then goes out. We then start seeing some other kind of stuff, mainly with the whole Viking kind of scenario, as they're the ones that are going out. And the thing is, we see, I call this more Conan-ish because we see Vikings, we see certain kind of Indian warrior cultures, like from India, medieval ones, Egyptian ones. Those start kind of popping up later on and everything. So it's an interesting kind of eclectic mix of everything kind of going on. But they come upon this village and they're able to find Mira, but sadly they aren't able to get out without pretty much decimating the village. It sucks, and it does create some great action scenes, but it's still sad that they couldn't get the slaves out without pretty much wiping out this whole village, because that then sets upon the chieftain and his son Eldar to going for vengeance on Spear and Fang. And that pretty much, that's when we kind of get like the kind of break episode with the 1890s. And then we see them going after and fighting them as Fang pretty much tries to set up and make her nest for her two eggs. And then we see them pretty much fighting them as they've got these like flying dinosaurs that they kind of attack them with, but we see that his son pretty much gets taken out and killed, and then he is left to kind of die himself as they're trying to pretty much get Mira back to her people. And they actually take the eggs with them because there's 3 eggs at first before they run into this giant colossus ship that is done by this like Egyptian ruler lady and her kind of big dude that is normally peaceful as we learn his stuff out, but she is holding his daughter hostage. And the sad thing is that he accidentally destroys one of the eggs. It's like, ah, shit. But they kind of learn what's kind of happening with him as the Fang and Spear are utilized as shock troops to continue on her conquest of taking people and things, and that she is more interested in taking things and holding them, kind of like the dinosaur eggs, of course the daughter, and then this like little cheetah cub leopard thingy. But as this is going on, we see that the chieftain dude was going to be taken to Valhalla by these Valkyries, but instead was taken down to Muspelheim by Surtur and was offered pretty much his son's soul in exchange for killing Spear and Fang, and instead is upgraded to like this giant, beefy kind of destroyer kind of thing. And it's like, okay, and then that's going into the background until the last episode, because the Colossi thing takes like 3 parts. And the thing is, there's a lot of kind of reuse of certain kind of scenes. It's like, okay, we kind of get it, like once or twice, sure, but they repeat it to like certain 3 patterns, and it takes a little bit for like Spear and Fang and Mira to kind of get out of their whole kind of situation. The guy and his daughter free their people and do their kind of thing. Fang's children hatch, and then that kind of leads us to the last episode as the dude was put back on Earth by Surtur. And I had to look that up to see what was going on. I kind of thought so, but kind of needed a little bit more clarification on that. And he's just been pretty much walking on water as like a flaming dude of destruction. But Spear, Fang, and Mira are able to get out. The dude and his daughter, the dude pretty much chucked the lady who was in charge of the ship down and killed her ass. It's like, damn. But Spear, Fang, and Mira and the kids are able to get back to her place. The friend that she thought died is still alive, and they like get back to her village. There's at first some tension. They're like trying to go after the dinosaur and Spear, but she calms everybody down. We see that Spear is pretty much trying to learn her ways and learn what she worships, but he kind of is torn between making sure that he takes care of Fang and the kids as well. She pretty much gets him into a place, and we then see a kind of flashback thing of Spear seeing his father and what he learned from him, and like the red eyes, that kind of rage and the violence of everything. He was trying to protect his tribe from these saber-toothed tigers, but he killed some of them. But at the end, it was Spear that took up the mantle, and he writes like his whole history, that everything that he's kind of gone through, and Mira's like, wow, okay. But then it's like the last bit of the episode that details the chieftain pretty much popping up and being like, surprise, motherfucker. And there's not really that much effective shit going on, because here's where it starts getting nutty. I do not mind that Spear dies because of this confrontation. It's the shit that kind of comes after it that is just rushed to an extent that we needed a whole episode to or other kind of episodes or other kind of space to detail this to make it not as rushed, because they pretty much fight it. Pretty much sets Fang on fire a little bit, but then sets Spear really Anakin style on fire, as he then like pushes him down pretty much this cliff thing. And then Surtur just pulls the chieftain down and like, whatever. And I'm like, did he pull him down because he succeeded in killing Spear or what? And evidently it's more because he failed from what I was seeing. I guess. I'm not sure. It's not. That's the downside to using as little dialogue as possible. It's not. When it's done well, and usually it's done well in this show, it's awesome and it's fine and you don't miss anything. Here, I'm just like, why was he pulled? Like, did he fail? Because he looks like he's dying. And then we see that they're trying to take care of the dude, but he's pretty much dying. And then Fang kind of goes off, and then Mira sees everything and decides to bang him. And then has his daughter, and we see the 2 children of Fang are grown up, and she's like riding one of them and has a spear as well. I don't mind that we go that like, oh, they had a daughter, they had sex and everything. I'm like, he was pretty much cooked pretty badly, burnt very badly. I don't know if his penis or balls would work that way. Like, temperature wise, probably would have cooked his balls enough to fuck over his sperm enough to not let that work out that well. It's like, it's really condensed, it's really at the end, it's like, hey, we don't know if this is going to fuck this over, and we want to leave something that is a good enough ending for this, but we could still continue on. It's like, okay, this needed to be planned out better, and that 1890s thing needed to be taken out. I would have rather had that they had had sex before, especially if you're going to be like, Anakin and fire, dead kind of scenario with that. It's just, In that kind of death state, it's really kind of hard to be like, oh, okay, she's just gonna immediately bang his ass, and then she's lucky enough to have a daughter, like a kid with him, from that one kind of thing. It's just too rushed and executed too weirdly for me to be like, hey, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Spears' daughter and her having adventures with things, offspring and everything. That's cool. That's an interesting kind of setup. I just hate that it had to take, like, he went through this horrible thing and really shouldn't have been able to fuck or potentially have kids because he was set on fire for pretty good time and it killed him. I don't know. It just seemed really random and really kind of weird and not well done and paced at the end. That's why I'm not going like full force recommend where I had pretty much done before. It's just this deserved better. And there's like other stuff that could have been cut out or condensed. The Colossi part could have been condensed. The 1890s part could have been condensed or done away with. So that way we could have that episode where they are able to do this before. So that way we get to this point naturally. Instead of just like, hey, he's dead, he's dying, he better fuck real quick. So that way we have something that we could do with like a sequel series if we wanted to. Instead of naturally setting it up to have an end cap where it's like, okay, here it is. So that's my biggest kind of issue. Everything else worked out pretty well, seeing different kind of dinosaurs, peoples, and cultures, and how to kind of do all that with as minimal dialogue as possible. Interesting kind of villains in the chieftain and the lady in charge of the ship. Yeah. So I do definitely like the conflicts that were introduced, the different kind of things that we saw. Art was beautiful and really was able to showcase what was going on, especially with the violence and the action. And it's not really glorified. It's like, this is just the brutality of what can occur if we do these certain kind of things or are put in these kind of scenarios. It's like, god damn. So I would still recommend this not to like small children because of like the violence and everything that kind of goes on with it and the kind of crazy ass subject matter, even though people would be like, hey, it's a dinosaur show, it's got to be for kids. No. Okay, if your kids aren't interested and you think they can handle it, that's on you. And hopefully if they are like, I'm not really into this, you help them with that, you know what I mean? So I would definitely recommend it for the characters and the action and everything going on, and just be like, sorry for the characters at the end, because it's just like, hey, we need to finish this. It's almost like watching somebody do a really good kind of college paper, but then either something really gets fucking weird at the end of the semester or right before it's due, and their conclusion is kind of off enough. It's still pretty decent enough, but they needed to finagle something to make it work a little bit better, instead of just like, hey, here it is now. It's like, okay. So I would still recommend it. I'd just be like, be on the lookout for what happens at the end, because it's not the best that it could be at how it was done, not overall what it was. Because I don't mind Spear dying. I don't mind him having a daughter and all that kind of stuff, but how you kind of like have it all done in like the last back half of the episode, where it's like, oh, I've got like 5 or so minutes at a certain point. I'm like, alright, a lot of fucking shit happens in that. So those are my opinions on this season. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.